Hi everyone, welcome back to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith. Last week, at the time of this recording, I released a video called A Year in Review, where I talked about the 5th season of Watch It Played, which is just wrapping up now, and I shared my thoughts about what I liked about the season, things that I'd like to improve and work on, and I also asked for your feedback and your thoughts. And wow, did you ever come through? Because there were so many comments on that video, and I just need you to know, I read all of them, first of all. I didn't reply to them there because I knew I'd be making this video to talk further about your comments, but the experience of receiving that feedback was very humbling. It meant a lot to me to have so many people commenting on the things that they like about the show and what it means to them and their enthusiasm for another season. That was very kind for people to take the time to do. I want you to know it meant a lot to me. But there's so many comments in here that I'd like to try my best to respond to. I don't know if I can do that within the amount of time that I want to have here. So I'll stop talking and I'll get to your questions and your comments and we'll see how many we can get through. I want to start by reading 4 different comments by 4 different people that I think do a good job of summarizing a lot of the feedback that we received on one particular aspect. Exploding Desk writes, "My favorite videos are the playthroughs. I watch every playthrough, but I only watch the how to play videos if I plan to play the game." Rico Cordova wrote, "I found your how to play videos are the most valuable. The gameplay videos are good, but a distant second to the tutorials, in my opinion." Vincent True wrote, "I've watched a few of your gameplay videos, but I definitely find the most value from the instructional videos. More instructional videos and less gameplay videos, please." JD Poner wrote, "I would say more gameplay videos would be my only wish. Gameplays can be especially important to learning a game." So there was a really good mix in the comments of people saying, you know, I really like the instructional videos more than the gameplays. I don't really care for the gameplays. Other people saying, I really love the gameplays. I don't really much care for the instructional videos. And I'm actually happy to see what I felt was a pretty even mix. And I know the comments don't represent all of the viewers that we have. But if it was everyone saying how to play videos only, then I'd start to question why do we even do the gameplay videos and vice versa. Thankfully, there's a good mix. And I think what that really shows is just that in general, no content creator can make content that everyone's going to be equally happy and excited about. But hopefully, my hope is that as long as you're subscribed to the channel, you'll be able to keep coming back and finding the kind of content that you like, even if it's not found in every single video that we put out. So thanks everyone for letting me know their thoughts on the instructional videos versus the gameplays. While we're on this topic, I should mention, again, at the time of this recording, Gen Con 2016 is just a few short weeks away. And PEP is also away right now, so you can expect to see more instructional videos over the next little bit. But don't worry, I have gameplay videos planned not only for games that we're going to be talking about now, but also ones in the past that we maybe haven't done gameplay videos for. So if that's really your interest, then stick around. You will see more of those, probably releasing after Gen Con, more so than before. I also want to read this comment as well. Maxwell Schmolleride wrote, "Rodney, my favorite shows you put out are the Table Talk and Talkback segments." So there you go. There's a relatively recent addition to the show. There's actually somebody else's favorite. And again, I just like knowing that people have found different aspects of the content that we create that really appeals to them the most. M. Coradetti writes, "I would love to see some content that focuses on solo games." Now, we have done some videos specifically showcasing the solo. I'm thinking Legacy Duke to Decracy. Recently, The Gallerist, we did a solo playthrough of. And one of our earliest videos, The Lord of the Rings, the LCG. But it is not something I tend to focus on and probably won't. Just because my perception, at least, is that most people do tend to play these games multiplayer. So I do try to create my content thinking about what is going to be the most valuable to as many people as possible. But it's not that I don't value solo games and their place in the hobby. I just don't tend to play a lot of them myself, so it doesn't tend to be where my interests lie, and so that is going to color the kind of content that you'll see from us. Lloyd Mark wrote, "For the website, maybe we could have a directory of games, but instead of containing the actual rules of the games, we have posts contributed by the community on how to teach the game, scripts, reminders, tips, and so on." I just want to mention here, I got a lot of great suggestions and feedback on the website itself. I won't make a point of responding to them here in this video, but just know I noted them, and we'll work into the website what we can and what makes sense. Okay, ignore what I just said, because the next comment is about the website, and I do want to address this one. Flavio Gomes wrote, "Have an area on the website where we can also suggest or decide games to be explained or played, maybe once a month." Flavio, it's not that I don't take into consideration what I think the viewers want to see, but the final decision on which games get featured here really does have to sit with me because it just takes so much time to create these instructional videos and the playthroughs themselves. And then I spend years answering comments about these games. So the number one deciding factor for which games get featured on the channel really does have to be, does Rodney want to do it? Because if I was doing games I didn't want to feature, it would wear me right out real quick and I'd be pretty miserable, and I think that would come through in the videos. So that particular one factor, the games that get picked for the channel, really do have to be decided by me. In the past, I have opened it up occasionally, and I haven't minded doing that, but I realize it's probably not worth the time and effort. Ultimately, I need to pick the games that end up being featured here. Benjamin Tam wrote, perhaps you can explore ways to streamline the creation of the videos to make more of them faster. Well, I think we're making quite a few instructional videos at a pretty good pace, but I think there'd be room for more gameplay videos if all of the production process was a little more streamlined. And one of the ways I'm looking at doing that would be to have Pep do more of the editing as well. He's actually getting quite good at it, but he could use a better machine so he can actually use his own equipment in his own home. That way I can record here, send the files over to him, and he could do the editing, which would be really great. And I think it's something he'd be quite adept at. So part of the fundraiser funds might go to getting him a new machine so we can get some of that editing off of my back, and then I can work on other content like preparing for gameplay videos and such. Right now I'd like to read two comments back to back from two different people. JPower2010 wrote, over the past while it seems you've done much more lighter games, and I miss the heavier, more involved ones. Ian Kelly wrote, so far the only time I've skipped one of your instructional playthroughs was for the Gallerist. I'm just not into rules-heavy games like that, but I certainly respect those of you who are. And I do want to say there's no right or wrong opinions here. They're opinions, so all of them are right. For you, the person who is posting them. But again, this is just one of those interesting cases, right, where some people are going to say, I'd much prefer to see the heavier games, and someone else is going to say, no, I'd much rather see the lighter games. And probably what you'll find on the channel is some mix of both. It might seem this year that we did more lighter games, but my suspicion is that we probably did the same amount of heavier, medium, heavier weight games, but there were more lighter ones packed in as well. So it maybe just felt like the distribution was a little different. At least that would be my guess without actually looking carefully at the games that we covered. But either way, again, I think what you'll probably find on the channel here is some mix of heavier games like Stronghold 2nd Edition that we did and the Gallerist, as well as the medium games like maybe Above and Below, and then the real lighter games like Lift It. And I kind of like that variety because my hope, again, is that we'll be able to attract different kinds of gamers who will find the kinds of games that would appeal to them and their families and their game groups, not just sort of appealing to only one segment of the gaming hobby. Jared War wrote, have you considered doing something like a quick glance video series that isn't as in-depth as the normal videos but allows you to touch on a broader range of topics, games, and smaller releases? Well, Jared, I think this is a good idea, and I have done it on occasion with games like Codex and Forbidden Stars, where I'm really just showing the components and talking about the gameplay in general. And each year I attend the GTS Distribution Come and Play Day event, and there I also sit down with publishers and designers and do, again, quick sort of overview looks at different games. If you go to our playlist, you can find those videos. But all of that content also takes quite a bit more time than probably people realize. And so when I'm sitting there thinking, well, do I want to spend like 5 hours creating this preview video, or put that 5 hours into working on a full instructional video or gameplay, I tend to think I should be doing sort of what this channel is known for, and rather than creating some kind of alternative content. And I think there is room for alternative content, but that's so close to what I'm doing already, I'm not sure it's different enough to be worth the investment of time, but I certainly think it's something that other content creators should, and I think will be exploring in time to come. Liz Howell wrote, when you make videos on Periscope, I almost always miss them because they disappear before I can get to them. I wish you would post those to YouTube and Facebook as well. Well, Liz, guess what? Periscope now saves the videos, so you don't have to watch them live or even within the first 24 hours. If you just go to my Periscope account, you can see the past videos that I've shot there, and I really do prefer keeping them separate because in terms of their visual quality, they're just so different than the rest of our content. If someone came on our channel and saw one of those uploaded Periscope videos first on YouTube, they might think, is this what the channel's all about? And I just don't feel like it's a good representation of exactly the kind of quality content I'm trying to create on YouTube, but I do have fun doing them on Periscope. And hey, now that you know, maybe you can jump on the account and check out some of those videos that you thought you were missing. Daniel Kolsch wrote, have you thought about including your opinions of the games? Maybe not in the main video, but in other videos or formats. Daniel, I really haven't. That's not been something that's ever really appealed to me. I have lots of strong opinions about my favorite movies and music and TV shows and even games, but that's not something that I would get any real sense of enjoyment or pleasure or meaning out of sharing. And I'm so glad that other people do, because I enjoy watching board game reviews by other media creators. It's just not something that I feel comfortable doing. I don't think I can say for you why you're going to have fun playing a game, because I know for myself, there's games I love playing that other people hate. And there's games I can't stand that other people really enjoy. So I really wouldn't want to steer you away from a game that maybe you and your friends would love, but you didn't buy because you heard me say, no, this game's not very good. So I think you should probably rely on other content creators for that sort of thing. But for me, I'd rather just show you the game, hopefully give you a sense of how it works, and then you can maybe make up your own mind about whether or not it's a game that you think would be a good fit for you. Brad Littman wrote, I'm just wondering why you chose Indiegogo instead of Kickstarter. Well, Brad, first of all, I'm Canadian. So when I first started doing these fundraisers, you couldn't run a Kickstarter as a Canadian. Well, now you can. But I've already been doing Indiegogo for so long, I'm very comfortable with that format, and my fulfillment software that I paid to get created to help me with that process, it works well with Indiegogo. I'm sure it could be converted over to Kickstarter, but I don't think I'm ready to sort of experiment with that right now. I just don't have enough time. I did consider possibly doing Kickstarter this year. I think Kickstarter would be good if I was just trying to reach a larger potential audience. But with my fundraiser, I'm not trying to really find random people who might want to support me. I'm really hoping that I'm going to reach the people who already watch my content. They'll become alerted about the Indiegogo because of the videos I release and some of my own social media that people follow me on already. And then those people who are already people who are interested in the content will donate. I'm not really looking to try to, trick's the wrong word, but trick someone into saying, oh, this looks interesting, maybe I'll donate to this random thing I've come across. I really just would like to find people who already really enjoy and appreciate the content, and they're likely to see the videos I release talking about the fundraiser. So I don't need to use Kickstarter as kind of a marketing tool, if that makes sense. So hopefully people will still enjoy coming over to Indiegogo and donating there. Alaskan Care wrote, I just think you should play for a longer time between asking for suggestions for moves. Sometimes people will comment on this. It's hard to explain, but when you watch a gameplay video and maybe it takes 15 minutes, it might surprise you, but sometimes that might be 2 to 3 hours of actual recording that we're doing. So part of the reason why we end the videos where we do, it's just that's enough time to be sitting, taking what might appear to be like 3 or 4 turns. For the viewer, is actually quite a bit of time setting up the cameras, getting the shots right, saying things, making a mistake, having to reshoot, discovering, oh my gosh, Pep's microphone was off. We need to reshoot that part again. You know, all those sort of things can really draw out what otherwise seems like, well, surely they could have done another 5 or 10 minutes. But that 5 or 10 minutes could be like another 2 hours of our recording. And then kind of that enthusiasm and energy that we try to bring to these videos, it would start to diminish. You'd notice a change, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to artificially create excitement around games, but we do want to create an environment where you have the best possible opportunity to find the fun for you in the game. And so us being at our best is the best way to do that. Drew asks, have you thought about using Patreon? Well, Drew, I have, and I think that platform works well for a lot of different people. I know for myself, when I'm supporting another content creator, I prefer to just donate once during the year. On an ongoing basis, it feels a little bit more like a bill, and because I have that psychological reaction myself, I resist using that format for my content. Also, I much prefer, if I'm going to be sending out thousands of envelopes with promos, to do that like at one concentrated part during the year, because it's a lot of work. And if I had to manage and keep track of that throughout an entire year, I think it would really take away from the main focus of my job, which is creating content for the channel. Zach Kyle wrote, is it possible to get one of those dice trays? And by dice trays, he means one of these here. This is one that we offered during last season's fundraiser. It's modeled after a picture frame that I would use in our videos where I removed the glass and just replaced it with a felt. I could never find that picture frame anywhere else at an affordable price, so I asked Ben if he would manufacture this for us based on that design. And this one actually has a little area up here where you can store dice, and it's magnetized to keep them in place. And that way you can take this to your game groups, if you're playing a role-playing game or other board games where you just want to keep things kind of contained as you're chucking dice around. Well, I don't think we'll offer this again during this season's fundraiser, but I will be talking to Ben about how we can offer this separately. So something you can order through his website, and then some portion of the proceeds will come back to Watch It Played as well. Keep an eye on the channel and other social media, and I'll announce it when I have some more information. 3B Crown wrote, I would like to see more live plays of games like you did for 5 Tribes. I know you have high standards on your content and like the community involvement, but live playthroughs could supplement the edited ones. Well, 3B, I do enjoy creating that kind of content. We did that for Lost Patrol this year. But the biggest challenge for me is that it's very difficult to focus on the game that you're playing and also be creating the content. So in other words, what I mean is when you're doing a live show, you have to pay attention to, is the audio coming through clearly? Are we on camera? Did we place something off camera? Oh, we did. Okay, we have to shift this back in focus. Paying attention to the comments that people are making. Are the batteries charged? Did we run out of audio suddenly and we didn't realize it for the last 10 minutes? All of those things divide your attention enough that it makes it so easy to make gameplay mistakes. And I have such an aversion to doing that. I really want our content to present the games the way they're meant to be played. And so because that's important enough to me, it makes me less comfortable doing those live plays. Now, that's not to say we won't do more of them, but it's why you won't see maybe as many as you might like to see. Justin Price writes, regarding the live Q&A videos, I think they're excellent when I'm able to watch them live, but I have little draw to them when I miss that live window. I'm torn on how beneficial they are for the base business that you're running. Well, Justin, I'm not really sure how beneficial they are to my bottom line either. It's hard to imagine that people watch the live Q's and A's and then go, I'm definitely going to donate during next year's fundraiser. But you raise a good point, because ultimately if I'm trying to do this full time, I do need to consider, am I adding value to my viewers? But you know what, that's actually the backwards way about YouTube, because that's not really the question you ask yourself, am I adding value to my viewers? A lot of the times the way you make money is not necessarily by adding value to what your viewers are experiencing, but just quantity. Because if you have a decent sized following, so in other words, just enough value to get people watching, then you pump out as much content as possible so you get more and more views, and therefore you get more and more ad revenue. That's really how you sort of become a successful YouTuber in a lot of cases. Then you try to get sponsors and other things as your audience grows. I've taken sort of the opposite approach to that entirely. I've done it so wrong that my hope is I'm doing it so wrong it'll eventually become right again. So what I mean is my highest viewed content are my instructional videos, and I don't have any ads turned on for those. So there I am making like a bad business decision based on some standard. But see, my feeling is I don't want people looking at my content as something that I'm creating simply to get some ad revenue. I want people to look at my content and go, wow, he really cares about it. And he cares about the quality of experience that I'm having as a viewer. And then that makes the content valuable. Hopefully meaning then as viewers, some of you look at it and go, yeah, I want to support this. I appreciate this approach. Is this approach right? I don't know. I guess it's right for me. I don't know if it's the smartest thing, but it's the way I feel most comfortable creating the content and then asking for support from other people. But great question, and I appreciate the comment. Fura Kinzan88 says, I and many other board gamers nowadays use BGG as my main news outlet. Is there any way you can make a Watch It Played geek list or blog so that I can be subscribed and then get notified there in my geek inbox about new videos? I used to have a Watch It Play geek list that was run by somebody else, and I really should create another one now, because this is a good idea. I also use BGG a lot. I think it's a great resource for our community. I think it's really the central hub, especially for board game enthusiasts. I need to find some time to make this happen. Mike Van de Casterly wrote, have you ever thought of adding a tier to allow people to play games with you guys live through Google Hangout or through Tabletopia? Well, Mike, I actually have considered this. A couple of years ago, it's a perk that we offered. And honestly, I just had trouble fulfilling them. My schedule lining up with somebody else's schedule who might be in a different time zone has its own challenges. And then we have to figure out a game we both want to play or know how to play or both own. And ultimately, I just don't want to disappoint people. I always had, when we were able to line it up, I always had fun doing it. But it adds a certain amount of stress just trying to make it happen that I just don't think I have room to add into my current schedule. Great idea, but I don't think I'm able to do it right now. Mike also asked, will you be able to raise enough money to hire Pep on, at least part-time? I certainly hope so. One of the major stretch goals in our fundraiser, which hopefully will be launching in a few days from the posting of this video, is a stretch goal to get Pep on here working full time. He gave me a very modest amount that he'd require. At least I think it's modest, and hopefully we can reach that stretch goal, and then I'll be able to have quite a bit of help there in creating, again, additional gameplay videos and more instructional videos, and just help with editing and other social media things that we might try to do, events at conventions, and so on, which would be excellent to have. So if you guys feel it's something you're able to donate to support, it would be greatly appreciated. Other persons writes, the one thing I'd love to see next season is a live gaming marathon, similar to the Dice Tower. Perhaps not a 24-hour one, maybe 8 hours? Maybe you could make that a stretch goal. Well, other persons, this is something that I would like to do as well. The way I want to do it would probably be a little different than the Dice Towers, but along that same kind of idea. I think it will be something we add as a stretch goal because it will require quite a bit of work, I think, to prepare for. I want to make sure we're playing the right games with the right people who are going to enjoy them and be able to present like a fun time for you guys who will be watching. So keep an eye out for that in the stretch goals of the fundraiser. Let's see if we can make that happen too. Nikon C2 writes, what are the chances of doing a 4-player playthrough series? I know it must be a logistical nightmare, but I don't feel like we see that much. No, here you probably wouldn't. I would need to find 3 other people that I could schedule regular time with to record. And really, you can only fit 3 people behind this table comfortably. To fit people around the table and shoot that, I'd need a bigger shooting space, which would mean adjusting this set, which I don't quite have the funds right now to do, and do it in a way that I think would look right. Something in the future to consider for sure, but at this current time, with the resources I have, not really a possibility. Nanny Bly11 writes, how can I be a supporter? I don't want to participate in Twitter or Facebook. Are there other ways to find out about the promos and the fundraiser? Yes, absolutely. As long as you're subscribed to this channel, I'll be putting out video updates here along with the announcement video for the fundraiser. Just keep an eye out for that. In the description of those videos, you'll find a link to the fundraiser page if you're interested in donating. Duke Jenkins writes, don't let this become a bloated monster that you start dreading to do. I think we'd all love more content, but if it starts stressing you out, it would not be worth it. Duke, that's a very kind and thoughtful sentiment, and other people shared it as well. Yes, the work of Watch It Played today is much more than it was when I first started. But that's not a complaint. I invited that, and I embrace it. I have been very fortunate to be able to work on Watch It Played as long as I have, and to have all the support that I've received thus far to be able to do that. In large part, coming from my family, and now over time, coming from many of you as well. But I would not want you to think at all that the work of this show is even close to being a drudgery. It's been a privilege to be able to create this content for you, whether you're someone who's been watching from the day we started, or if you just started watching yesterday. Your support, your involvement is greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, thanks for watching.